Oh, FROSK. She's back in the news. Frog's Urine, has come out and said Sexism in Gaming rant was actually inspired, in part, by her experiences at G4TV. And I quote, "I cannot believe more stuff hasn't come out." That's right. Even though she says she stands by it all, by the way, just as an FYI, and, means everything she says. It's G4's fault. Of course it is, whatever. I thought we'd find this interesting. This is obviously the woman who was chosen as essentially one of the presenters for the G4TV reboot. And she came out and did an interview. It was interesting. She's now retired from the gaming industry as well, allegedly. Although we'll see how we'll see how long that lives. And this tends to be the norm, the playbook that these individuals go by. Just sort of blaming everyone else and trying to get on side. It's a bit of a grift, if you ask me, but, I don't know if you did, but hey, that's my opinion. It is a bit of a grift. We'll take a look at this. Before we do, ladies and gents, please do hit the subscribe button. About 50% of people that watch the channel that are not subscribed. So you obviously like the channel, you keep coming back. It'd be really good if you hit that subscribe button and tell YouTube you want to watch this stuff, because loads of you are just not getting notifications, and yeah, that sucks, because YouTube's great like that. Doesn't bother to tell anyone that's subscribed that I release a video. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, in the aftermath of Comcast shuttering of their short-lived attempt to revive G4, while a former co-host has taken to throwing bizarre and childish tantrums on social media. This is Adam Cesspit. Adam Cesspit Sezzlepants is just talking garbage on Twitter. Indiana FROSK has decided to do an interview, basically, and discuss everything that heralded G4TV's downfall, which is, of course, her sexism in gaming rant, and then everything surrounding it. Now, she says she's retired from video game, being a presenter and a personality, but she opened up about her circumstances, which prompted her impassioned explosion in an exclusive interview held with independent journalist Peter Pischke, or however you want to say that, for his newly launched interview podcast, Culture Escape. Now, Pischke actually does work with Banning into comics, so we'll take some of this with a pinch of salt. But we'll see, because some of this is fairly impartial, but I'll add my insights as well. So obviously there was a discussion on G4's strategic failings. The individual then decided to move the conversation on to the topic of her rant, and directly asking FROSK what was happening to FROSK that you're in that position where you felt like this needed to be said. One, that's a loaded question. It implies that she felt it needed to be said. You could have just asked why, the circumstances around it overall. It is pretty loaded as a question. So FROSK then revealed that the first embers of her rant were sparked by her experiences trying to pay attention to everything that was happening online around G4. That's right, she's still blaming you, during a period fairly early on into its announcement. So she's still blaming you. Over the months leading up to it, everywhere I looked, if it was on YouTube or Reddit or Twitch, every platform, people were just talking about how much they used to masturbate to Morgan Webb. I was like, this is so strange. That on social media, people are just making all these crude, not even just jokes, but just really crude statements. What is happening where we've missed the barrier to the decision making to think something, type it out, to hit enter and send? What? I don't remember any of that. It may be true, but who cares? Women are hot. Women do masturbate to men. Men masturbate to women. That's just life. Shifting her attentions to the X-Play segment, in which her anger eventually boiled over. But still blaming you, by the way. FROSK detailed how it was supposed to be like a New Year's gripes thing. God, you're way off base. So it'd be like, this thing really annoyed me in the new year. Let's start fresh and do a New Year's rant, she told Pischke. Originally, I was supposed to talk about Red Dead Redemption 2's online. I was going to blast Rockstar, and this was even before they decided to just leave the games online to die. However, after doing rehearsals where the on-screen team want to keep our rants secretive so we don't record them or do them, everyone went and took a lunch break, where FROSK's rant truly began to take take on basically. And so I go to lunch and I'm sitting with the network producer Emily Rose, director Gabrielle Thomas, and co-executive producer Megan Lutz. And I don't remember why it was brought up, but the discussion at the table really just kind of turned into our different experiences as women in the industry, and also in that specific studio of having really sexist and gross experiences. That you were barely working. G4TV wasn't online for very long. God, I was like, why is that so prevalent in this industry? It's prevalent anywhere there's men. Anywhere there's women. You dipshits. And also, you've got to remember, you built G4TV. You revived it. What was G4TV before? Well, it lent into the sexuality of, and the attractiveness of the women that were on it. For goodness sake. It's like these people have no concept of what they were doing. So FROSK continues and is like, oh, it's so bizarre. No, it's not. No, it's not. G4TV had a culture of lauding the attractive women over everyone. I mean, Olivia Munn was on it, for goodness sake. I've worked in 4 different Riot offices, and Riot obviously went through the massive lawsuit about gender discrimination. But just like the shit that I've seen... Gender discrimination, shut up. Just like the shit that I've seen working 10 years in esports, I thought that going into mainstream broadcasting would make it better. But while she said that she thought esports was like this Wild West where you don't have a lot of people with white-collar business experience, and that it was going to get better going into G4, these issues reportedly only got so much worse going into G4. Specifically in that studio, she added. I cannot believe more stuff hasn't come out. These people are idiots. So FROSK then explained how after that lunch she returned to the studio and decided to change the topic of her rant, shifting it from Rockstar's multiplayer failings to her grieved frustrations with her and her co-workers' personally sexist experiences. What about this is a woman that has touted online really quite disgusting things about other women, just as an FYI. So it's pretty hypocritical that this woman sits there and says this. Retracing the chain of events, she stated, so I hash out the rant, I give it to X-Play showrunner Michael Leffler and Megan, and they approve it, and they're like, yeah, this is great, we're going to put it in the teleprompter. And then I read it, and that's what went out. So you did it super quick, and you thought that was smart. Okay! And you blame everyone else. It was approved by all the higher-ups, FROSK bluntly affirmed. And a quick aside, FROSK said hilariously, X-Play co-host Girard, the completionist Khalil, was actually going to do a very similar rant. His was going to be around the general hatred or negativity. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but kind of like the negativity around the gaming sphere and the audience outputting that. So you are all just going to rant about your audience. Ugh. What on earth? Mine was negativity through the lens of sexism and gaming. She distinguished between their two talks. And then when Girard heard mine, he was like, well, you basically talked about a very similar vein of what I was going to talk about. So he doesn't do his. So she then returned to the rant itself and addressed the decision by G4's social media team to clip it and pop it up separately. They didn't ask me or anything. They just went. She asserted, revealing that she initially thought little of her rant because, 2,000 people watched the stream? I was like, it's whatever. That was basically for this audience. Yeah. That didn't work, did it? G4 proceeded to ride the high of, internally, everyone's like, good job. We really stand behind you, FROSK said. As soon as the backlash comes and it gets caught up in the YouTube algorithm, or the harassment comes... Do you see what I mean? This woman, she just doesn't learn. It's not harassment. You lambasted your audience. You literally no accountability, this woman. And this goes for anyone that was lambasting their audience and gets backlash. No one seems to hold themselves accountable. And G4 just hard-bailed, she says. And they were like, we're really supporting you, but way over here. I asked them multiple times, what are your guidelines? How do you want to handle any of this? There's no guidelines in terms of social media. I asked them repeatedly for assistance, or what they wanted me to say. Assistance on what? God, you're an adult. Look after yourself. In the standards of the public relations world, if that happens, what you do is you actually flood the market with more interviews. So if Comcast wanted to do that correctly, if they have this algorithm machine focusing on negativity, what you do is actually schedule a shit ton of interviews and you just 50-50 it. but they just decided to, I don't know, completely back away. You were asked to interview people, and you refused, because you're an idiot. So anyway, apparently it got really bad when, I don't know if it was multiple people, I'm assuming it was probably one person, that was using multiple sock puppet accounts, but there was a stalker scenario. Yeah, of course there was. I called my local police department to make sure that I didn't get swatted. The address attached to my LLC, this is how they tried to get it, was actually my agent's address and his phone number. So my agent was getting all of these threatening phone calls and having drive-bys of his house, and I completely changed my LLC to some random PO box. Anyway, she apparently had this individual who was, I'm assuming, reverse image searching the pictures I put on my social media and kept messaging me trying to get my location. Weird S like that. I decided to delete my entire Twitter to make sure that there weren't images that could be used. I just cleared the entire thing out. I felt like anything that I did, then the YouTubers were reporting on it. I was like, dudes, I don't even know how to explain to you the levels of deep weirdness this is. Just, it doesn't make you just want to smash your head into a wall. So that sucked, and it was definitely like a low point. But outside of that, it was business as usual. I stopped really using a lot of social media, didn't go on YouTube at all, I couldn't go on YouTube anywhere, and I tried to focus on work. Basically, everyone else's fault still, yay. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So she said, did I care? It's hard. Did I mean everything that I said? Yes. But that's in a context of like, I know. So she means everything she said, but only because 2,000 people were watching. And I can look directly at the Twitch chat. It was in the context of the rest of the show. That's right. So she meant every word she said, but only because 2,000 people were watching. There you go. What an idiot. Ugh. Let me know what you think down below. Take care.